Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock of Renaissance Astrology, and today I'm going to talk about Constellation Talismans and this week's featured talisman, the Constellation Hydra. So I'm going to start featuring talismans. I want to shine a spotlight on some great talismans which might be overlooked. It's easy to kind of get into this sort of rut as far as the talismans you're interested in looking at, and you might not realize that there's some amazing stuff out there. It's got some great qualities that you haven't even thought of. So that's why I think I'm going to start doing this featured talismans to get everyone to take a look at these. So as we start out, we say, what is a constellation talisman? And I think that's, people are comfortable with planetary talismans, but constellations, it's like, okay, well, what is that? What's a talisman? How does that work? Really what I think we're getting at here is ultimately, how do astrological talismans work at all? And I think that's immediately we're going to start thinking about, okay, energy or quantum entanglement or something like that. There's crystal healing, the same way that works as that. The problem with that approach is there's no evidence of any scientifically detectable energy. Magnetism, light, string theory, none of that stuff. So it's zero evidence that has anything to do with astrology and magic. So what people are going on basically is this atheistic materialism worldview, the underlying view of reality, which is everybody, modern person has it, which is nothing exists except matter and energy. So knowing that, if nothing exists except matter and energy, the talismans have to work through energy because they work, obviously, so it must be through energy. Now, the traditional view is that the spiritual is primary, okay? And spiritual is neither energetic nor material. It's underlying that. And so you could potentially have some sort of spiritual energy if you think about Kindi on the stellar rays, but really the predominant flow in terms of dealing with this and thinking about talismans, either you have the natural magic view or the other view is that we're dealing with celestial spirits here. And so the natural magic view would be basically through occult virtue, the dealing with spirits is the other alternative in terms of how they actually work. So you could think of, for example, a planet as having this physical body. I mean, Jupiter's up there. There's a planet Jupiter. And then the spirit of the planet, the angel, archangel of the planet, the intelligence, is sort of like the soul. So that's a way of thinking about it. But then when you step away from that, if you're dealing with something like a sign talisman, I mean, Agrippa provides these sign talismans. It's like, well, the sign talisman it's not the constellation. So is there a physical body that goes with it? And you really know that you're stepping away from the physical when you get to the nodes. These are the head and tail of the dragon, the moon's nodes, and Agrippa in Book 2, Chapter 45 gives talismans for the head and the tail of the dragon. But there's no physical body there. The nodes are the point on the ecliptic that intersects with the moon's orbit. So it's a ratio, and there's no physical body there. So really what we're getting into and we're recognizing with this is that we're dealing with these underlying spiritual realities. That there doesn't need to be physicality, there doesn't need to be energetic connection, because what we're dealing with is a spiritual connection. Another interesting sort of example of that is the whole idea of the angel, the guardian angel names or Time Lord names. Agrippa gives a methodology for looking at your natal chart and then deriving the name of the angel. And people have come back to me and said, yes, I did the whole Abramelin exercise, and the name that I got from the Time Lord was responded to by the guardian angel. So I think there's at least some congruity. Whether that's 100% the same, I think is open to question, but there's definitely this crossover. But anyhow, essentially what you do is you map every degree of the zodiac to a letter, and then you look at the degree of 5 different points called the heliacal points, which are the degree of the sun, the moon, the ascendant, the part of fortune, and then the new or full moon immediately previous to your birth. And those give you a letter, and then put together those equal the name. And so, again, it's astrologically derived. You can see where it comes from, but there's really no physicality or energetic connection to it. It's all this matter of ratios. It's all really a spiritual connection. So what I'm trying to do here is to kind of help you free your mind from atheistic materialism, to help kind of step away from relying on there be some kind of energetic or material causality for everything. Because if you're approaching magic and astrology that way, you're constantly going to be misunderstanding the traditional sources. You're going to be wrong-footing yourself in how you approach your practice, and you're just going to get confused. It's not going to make a lot of sense. So really, as I look at astrological magic, what my view is that all astrological factors have a spirit. In fact, they have an infinity of spirits associated with them. So anything you can think of in terms of an astrological factor, so like I said, planets, obviously, mansions of the moon, fixed stars, decaan faces, these are all have spirits. The thing is that we only have information on how to contact and invoke these spirits, and what, for example, what images to use for the talismans, what occult virtues that they have, what sigils, things like that, for a minority of astrological factors. And we have these from our traditional sources. So I think originally that the traditional sources would have come from direct contact with the spirits, from dreams, from visions. I think they got into the traditional sources, and then they, over the hundreds of years, they often got transmogrified or kind of adapted. So, for example, you have a lot of constellation lore, fixed star lore, in a book like Liber Sigillorum, which I'm going to talk a little bit about our translation of that. That's available, and that was used for lapidaries, and then it got adapted for picatrix and astrological talismans. So there's this long process of kind of using these traditional sources and then adapting them for your own purposes. So that's going on as well. But originally, like I said, my view is this comes directly from the spirits. Let me talk a little bit about constellations. I mean, just traditional constellations, you got 1,000 visible fixed stars. They're arranged in 48 constellations, 12 zodiacal and 36 extra zodiacal constellations. Each constellation is an image. So when you come to do the talisman, you can use the image of the constellation as the talisman. And then all the talismans have stories too. They're all various animals or people or objects or things like that. So, for example, you got the constellation Hercules. Its image is Hercules, the hero, and then it is good for victory. So that makes sense too, because Hercules was a great hero. So my practice is essentially to treat the constellation talismans like a fixed star talisman. So fixed star talismans are really cutting edge right now. So if you get into constellations, you're really on the cutting edge of the cutting edge. So you can really be really out there in front, but not way too far in front of everybody. It's kind of an exciting time, I think, to be working with them. Really, I think the best source for constellations, the best primary source, and I'm a little biased here, is our book Celestial Gems and Sigils that contains the Liber Sigillorum. This is a comprehensive translation of this ancient text, and gives you multiple variants. So this is really the bedrock of anybody's study and the source of any astrological magician for constellation talismans. And also, if you're interested in constellation talismans, again, this is my fixed star sign of Constellation Magic. This is very practical. This is going to give you all, a lot of the tools that you need if you already understand traditional astrology, if you can do a full chart election, to do, constellation talismans. And this is a hardcover, a color edition, and you can see that it's got, for example, we've got these are the sign talismans that are included in it, but it also includes constellation talismans in color, and the black and white has black and white versions of it. Now, if you're really serious about this, you should definitely take my Astrological Magic Course, which contains a full introduction of how to do full chart elections, worldview, going into all the details, and of course we deal with the constellation talismans as part of the course. And I provide links for all those books in my courses as well on the YouTube page. The difference that I would say between the fixed star and the constellations, look, the fixed star is basically very small and it's at a particular degree. We can get that particular degree rising or culminating, conjunct the ascendant or conjunct the midheaven. And then we have the moon applying to make a conjunction sextile or trine to the fixed star while it's rising or culminating. So again, what I do for a constellation talisman is have the constellation rising or culminating, and again have the moon applying to a conjunction sextile or trine. In order to do that, though, the constellations are many, many degrees long in some certain circumstances. I mean, Hydra is very large. We're going to be talking about the Hydra. What I do is pick a marker star. And so I've been tending to pick a marker star in the middle. Other people have said, oh, you like the brightest star, or trying to pick a star at the beginning. That's really a matter of preference. I don't think there's a wrong or right answer to that. Any of those methods resonates, then, go ahead and use it. So let's just talk a little bit about our featured talisman, Hydra, the sea snake. Very large northern constellation. And here is the uh, consecration image, which is again an image of Hydra. You can see the sea snake there with Corvus and the chalice, which are also part of it. Gorgeous consecration image. These are used for meditation and consecration of the Hydra talisman. And these are our bronze Hydra talismans. You can see the sea snake design, gorgeous. I just really love this design. Very bold and also a very beautiful design for the Hydra talisman. So what's really amazing about the Hydra talisman is that this is a triple power talisman. It's very unusual. Typically the talismans tend towards one particular area. They're really good for that particular area. You don't have multiple areas that they cover. This is a great talisman for wealth, also for protection, and for wisdom. And as this is what Albertus Magnus says. And then in Liber Sigillorum it also says, he should have this Hydra talisman will abound with all good things, and be astute and wise about the future. And it's also held to it says counteract every noxious heat. So it has a cooling effect as well. Very useful right now, particularly if you're in the Southwest, suffering under a heat wave. So, like I said, very special talisman, has a very wide range of powers, and I think it's a situation where people are like, oh, I'm not really sure about constellation talismans. I'm not sure about those. I'm a little nervous. I haven't really heard of them and know how to work with them. I think that's what I really wanted to get through in this video, is to say, look, this is an incredibly important part of astrological magic. The constellations are very key, and you can feel comfortable with them because the information that we're getting about them comes from our traditional sources. It's been tried over a long period of time, and we've built up this body of knowledge from that, and also from a current practice. I've been doing constellation talismans for a long time, and I've been very happy with them. I've gotten good feedback from customers about them. So check out the Hydra talisman. Like I said, this week's featured talisman: wealth, protection, and wisdom. Can't beat that. Really kind of the trifecta of useful powers. And check out these sources and books if you want to delve further into the lore of constellation talismans. But again, this is why I'm so excited about doing astrological magic and working with it, because we've got so much to work with, so many exciting things to uncover, and our knowledge and the community has built and grown over the years, and it's really kind of an exciting time to work on this. So like I said, cutting edge constellation talismans, check it out. And I look forward to doing more featured talismans.